Hello all, me again, obviously, we're back. Well, you're back, I'm still here, still doing it. It's been a few weeks since the last upload. Still working on it, daily, little bits and bobs every day. But we're moving forward, we're getting something like it now. I think Churchill said, it's not the beginning of the ends, but maybe the end of the beginning. Very prophetic, but yeah, we're sort of like that. But we're actually probably closer to the beginning of the end, if I'm honest. Yeah, lots to do, lots going on. The hinge mechanism has been driving me up the wall. You'd think it'd be really simple, wouldn't you, to make a forward-lifting bonnet, put some hinges in, and it'll just... No. But we're there with the hinge mechanism now. Now we're moving on to the lights, the grille, the actual grille, louvered insert, and all the rest of it. So we're actually getting something like it now. So let's rewind back a couple of weeks, start back with a hinge, and I'll bring you up to where we are now. Let's go.
I'm not chip foos.
Right, hinges are in. So all we've done there is drilled up, put two riv nuts or nutserts, whatever you colonial people call them, up into the bottom leg of the chassis. So obviously that can come out. This is all reversible should it need be. Then on the inside we've got a little flappy hinge which will get bonded to this. So these can be unbolted, that will get bonded in, and then obviously the hinge is angled so that it will pitch forwards that way, and the whole thing should go whoop forwards. And that's that side, and we've done the other side as well. So fingers crossed, once they're bonded in, we'll see if the damn thing actually lifts up without turning itself inside out.
Okay, first light cluster mounted. She's in there. As you can see, all we've done is put a bolt through from the front, countersunk in, nut and a washer to hold it in situ, and then a second nut and washer up on the light to hold it in. And she is in there tight, which is good. So the first light's in. Holes are cut for the second ones, just need to drill the holes, etc. Looks alright. Also started smoothing out some of the bodywork here, just along the seam lines, just a tiny bit of filler, just rub that back, just to make sure we got nice clean edges before we get a paint. My slight dent I had in here, to our best efforts, couldn't get it out, so just put a skim of filler over it. That needs rubbing back, and then that will just take that little dent out of the corner. It wasn't much, but it, you know, I knew it was there, and I knew it would annoy me. So, as I said many times before, it's going to get sprayed anyway, so you may as well do any of the small remedial work bits you're going to do before you paint it. The nightmare bit has been working out the pivot for this. It has been a nightmare, and it still isn't entirely cured yet. What we've ended up doing is bringing the hinges through to the front here, because we needed to lift it up slightly. So rather than putting the hinge on the back of this, we bring it to the front, and that pushes it back up slightly. Now it does clear, but it catches on the back of the lights. I'm on my own, so I can't show you, but as it tips forward, the overriders here catch on the light things on the inside. So as you can see, what I've had to do is actually cut the top of the overriders off. Now, I didn't want to make any kind of structural changes to this whatsoever, but unfortunately it was that or nothing. That or I had to completely rethink the whole thing, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. But here's my thinking, and I need to cut more off. I need to cut it down to this line here so that it doesn't catch the lights. So it's good in one way, because it means this bit I've cut out was needless. So I've still got the bits I cut out, so they all get glassed back in to there. So you'll only have a little bit sticking out here. Now obviously when I go to put the original bumper back on, I've only got the one hole here now to use, because this one's going to get cut off completely. But what I'm going to do is drill this out, make it a much bigger bolt, probably like an M10 or something like that, which will hold the lifting mech for the overriders, because it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. We are, excuse my crazy hair, it's been a long day. The bumper can't come off forwards, because it's obviously bolted on and it's clipped on the sides. when it's up in the air, because I've got the gas lift struts are pushing it up, taking all the weight off those bolts. So there's no weight on those bolts at all when it's either closed or open. So one bolt will be fine. As I say, I didn't want to cut the overriders down. I could always put a plate on them in the future if I want to. My problem is I'm worried more about what a potential future buyer might think than actually doing it for myself, which is stupid because I don't want to sell the car. I'm just thinking too far ahead, which is stupid. And if I do sell it, it'll be sold with a new bumper on, with the new bonnet on, sorry, which hopefully the new buyer will like anyway. So, you know, and that's if I sell it. I'm not even, you know, not even saying I want to sell it. So I don't know. I'm just worrying about nothing really. What I should have done is just gone straight in and chopped the overriders off at the bumper from the start, and then I wouldn't have to worry about anything. So I wouldn't have had to cut anything out. But as I say, I was trying to keep it as original as possible. There you go. This is what you get. So a little bit more to come off those, and then it will lift up nice and freely. And that'll be the end of the lifting woes. We've been doing this now for, I mean, for you it's been a couple of minutes. For me it's been over a week. We've been out here every single night after work, chopping bits, cutting slots, moving bolts, putting riv nuts in, trying to find the best way to articulate it. And it just so happened that if I had actually made the entire bonnet 1 inch longer, none of this would have happened. But of course, you know, I didn't know that when I was sculpting it. I didn't know it would foul at all. So 1 inch longer, it would have been fine. But cutting the overrider off with an angle grinder is a lot easier than having to re-sculpt the bonnet an inch longer. So there we go. Such is life. Such is the life of a custom car builder. Not I'm a custom car builder, but I imagine what they're going through, and it's a pain in the ass. So yeah, so we're moving along. Once I get this last bit sorted out, we'll be past the nasty bit, and I can carry on doing the lights and grille, etc. It's turned back into a normal Spitfire. Yeah, old bonnet's back on again now. Car's been sat here for a couple of weeks. I got to get it off the driveway. So we've pretty much cured the lifting woes, believe it or not. As you can see, with the old bonnet back on, we have chopped down the overrider there. I've tested it with one bolt in it, and whilst there is a little bit of play in this, it lifts absolutely fine. Lifts fine, goes back fine, it's fine. I would say that's probably just down to the fact that I've got the old gas lift struts in it, helping to take the weight off those hinges. Without the gas lifts, I'm not so sure it'd be, you know, it would do the thing. But it is, so that's fine. So the cuts we made to the overriders, fine. All I need to do now is put the covers back on, just to hoik that bonnet up a little, you know, that bit, the bumper back up, and we're good to go. I can then get this thing away, get it washed, and enjoy it again, because it's been 5 weeks of beautiful sunshine and I haven't been able to drive it because it's been sat here. But that's the price you pay for doing custom work, isn't it? So the old bonnet's back on here. I say the old bonnet, the new bonnet. I can't talk today. So as we know, one light cluster in, second one's been cut. I need to drill the holes and do the thing with that. These cuts now become largely redundant, so I've kept the cuts that I took. So I'm going to put it back down to here. So this section will go back in. I'll re-glass those in, and I'll leave the little cutouts down there. You're not going to see them when it's on anyway. And then we can carry on working on this. As you can see, we've gone around, sanded all the seams off, this kind of thing, getting it straight. Need to do a little bit more cutting back here, a bit more filling here where a bit of the glass didn't take. Trim these out, put our latches in, and trim some of this stuff off the edge there, because, you know, it was too big, which is exactly how I intended it. So that needs trimming up, and I do need to make a little cut out on those lights. That front overrider does still catch a little bit, and you can see there where I've marked that a little bit out. Just need to cut that bit out on that one, and that will stop it grabbing. And then we can go and put the other lights in, cut the grille out, etc. So we're sort of moving along with it. It's been a painful couple of weeks, I'll be honest. But what are you going to do, right? It's been ungodly hot. It is summer, I know. And like I say, we've been doing that lifting thing for so long. And it's partly it's just due to the angles, the way it lifts. It just interferes with things. Whenever you've got something where you have to put a hinge in it and it starts moving, you know, you've got potential for issues there, which we've had. The other thing we noticed with it as well is that there's a little bit of flex in the fiberglass. Fiberglass obviously flexes, that, you know, it's not a rigid thing unless you build it up really thick so it becomes rigid. With my 3 layers thick, it isn't that thick, so there is a bit of flex. So as soon as you unhook the bonnet and start to lift it away, the bottom edge has a little bit of flex and it's dropping down and catching the overrider. If you grab it by the front and lift it back up and swing it, it swings lovely. So I'm going to do a little bit more glassing along that bottom edge, that bottom valance, just to add that bit more strength to that. And that should be enough. I'm convinced that should be enough. By the way, I've had enough of looking at it now. I've been underneath that car, like I say, for weeks now, propping the bonnet up on my knees while I'm trying to fish bolts in and then swing it in, cutting my fingers on the arches and all this kind of stuff, and I'm done with it. So I'll bonnet back on, drive it home, get rid of it. I now know it fits, so I can now do all the stuff on that off the car, knowing that I'm not going to bring it to the car and then go, oh god, it doesn't fit, I've got to start cutting it. So I want to get it painted, that's the main thing now. So, let's crack on. Okay, we've got the lights in. I know it's upside down, but you know, you get the idea. So both sets of lights now in. Bolted in, adjusters present. And obviously we've got the opening for our grille in the middle cut in there as well, roughly at the moment, but you know, obviously that's going to have a wire mesh going behind it, and then whatever I'm doing with the grille. Now you can see here the grille idea I've been struggling with, really struggling with. As I said, I wanted to have loads of vertical louvers, like slats in it, like some of the old 60s muscle cars. But of course there's nothing off the shelf you can buy, and anything I try to adapt is just going to fall to pieces. As soon as you cut it, it's just going to fall into pieces. So my idea now is using some strips of cardboard. This one, as you can see, is still wet. A couple of self-tapping screws in there, just to hold it in situ. Soak it in fiberglass resin. You can see I've made some triangular cuts in it there, just to allow it to conform to the corners. A little bit of fiberglass matting in the corner, just where obviously I've made the cutouts, just to secure it. I've done both of the corners, and then I'll come along and do the flat strips in the middle, join them together, and then when I pull the screws out, that should then pop out, excuse me, and that'll then work as a frame. And then I've just got to put the louvers in. Now, I've got two options. I can either take the easy option and put horizontal louvers in, and I'd only need about 5 or 6 of them. Or I can take the hard option, the one I prefer, which is to have vertical slats in, and if I put one every ½ inch, I need 96 of them. Now I don't really want to be cutting 96 individual things and gluing them into here. It's going to take me forever, so I may end up having to go with the horizontals. I don't know. I haven't got that far yet. I'll get this framework done, get it popped out, and then we'll deal with that afterwards. But it's been on my mind, shall we say, about how I'm going to do it. But this seems to make the most sense. Make a complete form, pop it out, and then I can work on it on the bench, put the slats in whichever way I do it, and then in the end I can obviously then just pop it back in, screw it in situ, and it'll be done. There we go. Okay, there's the grille form, all complete, popped out, stuck the little bits in the middle. These are obviously temporary strengthening bars. They're going to be snapped out, don't worry, I'm not leaving them in there. But that is it. So we now have a solid form that we can use, which we can just basically, you know, tidy up, put some more glass into it, give it a lot more strength, because it's still a little bit soft. It's not too bad actually. I've just put some more resin into it, but you can see it's still a little bit. It's cardboard, it's very dense cardboard, and cardboard's excellent for fiberglassing really, because the resin soaks into it and it acts exactly the same way that fiberglass mat does. It soaks in, it goes hard. So we've got one sort of semi-rigid piece of cardboard, but again it's a perfect fit for the grille, so now we have a platform to work from. Also, we're just putting the actual grill in on the front there as well. So we've got a bit of our barbecue grill, sprayed it black, cut it to size, and then we're just using a bit of fiberglass. I'm just doing the bottom edge at the moment, because of the way because mesh, you know, it's really hard to get it flat. It always wants to ping up. You push one side down, the other side pops up, so it's very difficult to do the whole thing in one. So all we're going to do first of all is do the bottom edge. You can see I've got some dollies on it there just to weight it down. Let that edge go off, come back tomorrow, take that off. With one edge secure we can then go and do the other edges, etc. And that gives us our grill in situ. And also I'm just starting to make the first cuts for the scoop as well. So we'll get that cut out, we'll go in there with a Dremel with a grinding wheel on it, and we'll profile those corners out nicely. And I'm going to do a few more stringers across the bottom here, this under scoop part, because there's a little bit of, because there's a big flat panel, that's obviously where the hinges sit, there and there. So there's a bit of flex in that panel, which makes it a bit of a pain in the ass when you're getting it off, because you've got to sort of lift and pull. So we'll use a couple stringers, we'll put a couple diagonal stringers in across there, up to the corners, just to give that more strength, in the same way we've done here. We've just put a couple shapes in, just to give it more strength. So it is, it's come along nicely. Well, we've just started doing the louvers for the, I keep calling them louvers, they're not louvers, they're slats, okay? Slats from now on. You can see I've started doing the slats for the front grille. I've only done a quarter so far. Need to replicate it on the other side as well. So we've got a couple verticals, we've got one smack bang in the middle because, you know, why wouldn't you? And then one in line with the edge of the lights, so basically boxing the grill in, if you like. And then obviously these slats in between. And all we're doing is just cutting plywood. Got some old strips of plywood lying around from a project we did a long time ago. A load of offcuts back here, it's like 3mm ply. Putting them through the bandsaw, making them nice and short. Chop them up, and then we're just using a bit of super glue. Stand it on its end, put a little dribble in the corner, wait for it to run down, zap it with a bit of activator, and Robert's your father's brother. Once all of that is done, obviously we'll then have to go around it, sand it all, make sure it's all nice, clean up any of the glassing on the edge. That will then get covered in high build primer, sanded back again, and eventually it will be sprayed black. Gloss, matte, satin, I haven't decided yet, but black of some description. And obviously the idea is that when you're looking at it from an angle, it just looks like a grill. It will look quite mean, but if you're in traffic looking at it from the front, you'll still be able to see the lights and everything quite simply. You can see we've started putting the holes in as well for our indicators and side lights. I used a massive 20mm drill bit, which has, you know, churned them up a little bit, but you won't see it when they're in. So those are our little button indicators. And then the top one's going to be a side light. So we've got yellow ones in the bottom for the indicators, white ones in the top for the side lights, and then the same thing on the corner of the bumper. Oops. Just so that when you're in traffic and someone's oblique to you like this so they can't see inside the grille, you'll still have a flasher on the corner so they can see which way you're going. You know, just to keep everything nice and safe. So it all looks a little bit of a mess at the moment. Ta-da! It is done. Well, obviously it ain't done. It's a load of plywood all glued together, so, you know, it's not done. But it's assembled, that's what I'm getting at. I think it looks alright. Best I can do anyway. And from the front, like I say, you can still see the lights. Got a nice wide grille for our radiator, plenty of nice air going through there. Still need to finish trimming the old scoop out a little bit better. But that should help quite a lot for keeping the engine cool. As you know, these engines, old engines, get quite hot. So having A, lots of air coming through that big whale mouth at the front, going straight through the rad. And then B, coming over the top here, which will then go over the top of the block and then come out through that vent at the back. So that should suck a lot of residual air, hot air from the top of the engine. Should also keep the carbs nice and cool, because the carbs are about here. And then obviously, like I say, lots of nice air going through that rad at the front. Number plate will then go down here. I'll make some little hangers and get it stuck in down the bottom here somewhere so the number plate isn't obscuring anything. And we'll have a nice chrome bumper. Anyway, that's all in the future, because now I need to actually get that something like it. So we're going to take that back off. Boop. Now we need to go around, clean it all up. Obviously it's plywood, so you get all these furry edges where you cut it. It doesn't sand very well at all, because as soon as you start sanding it, it just kicks up all those little edges again. It's a real pain in the ass, but you know, that's plywood. It's not meant for modelling with. So we'll sand it back as best we can, and then what we're going to do is come in with a load of GRP resin. We'll brush a load of resin onto it, so we'll get as much resin soaked into that wood as we can. It should soak in quite nicely, because again it's plywood, so we can soak a lot of nice resin into that. That will essentially plasticize that, turn it into a plastic. Then when you sand it, you should be able to sand it nice and smooth, because it'll have a nice thick layer of lacquer on it, and we should be able to get a good sand on it. Go around, clean up all the furry edges, fill any gaps.
Our grille is painted.
Get the whole thing painted black.
And we've just gone in and painted the infill panel there as well. Looks a bit like a Barracuda, like a 70 Barracuda, which, you know, is good. So alright, I caved. Obviously nothing's actually bonded in yet, I've literally just placed it there for the second. Even without the grille, looks quite cool. Right, on the inside you can see we put some strengthening braces in. One there, and we put a cross section across the middle, and one in the other corner. So they will take out a lot of the flex that inherently comes with having a flat panel. And then we've gone back and filled in the bits that we never had to cut out in the first place. So a bit of filler on there, just need to rub them back, get them nice and smooth. Then I can mask this bumper off, get this sprayed in gloss black, well, get it primed, sprayed in gloss black. And once that's done, then I can DA the whole thing and look to put a bit of primer on it. I must remember though to cut these out first for the handles. And we put our black vent in for the scoop as well, although you can barely see it. Which is nice. Yeah, coming along nicely. So, let's get a bit of a bit of sanding done. Now we're getting it all masked up, ready for our paint, as you can see. She's had a couple coats of primer and a couple coats of gloss black. I'll let that go off, and then we'll take our masking off. It is going to have a 2-inch chrome strip going all the way around the middle of that bumper. So it's not going to stay black, it will be chrome, but it will be chrome through the middle and then black on the sides. There we go. Tape off. Looks alright, I think. Good enough for amateur work anyway. But it's come a long way in a few weeks. We are, you know, sort of on the home stretch now, aren't we? Got a couple little spots of remedial bodywork to do, and then it's going to be ready for masking and spraying. If you're wondering why I've done the black before I've sprayed the body, it's sort of as broad as it is long, isn't it? I would have had to mask it and spray either way, so, you know,
but yeah, I think it looks alright. So I reckon that's going to do us for now, because that's probably long enough for any mere mortals to keep interest watching on. So hopefully the next video, because there's always another video, isn't there, somehow, hopefully the next one will be literally the finished article, because again I've just got to now do a few bits of the bodywork, get it primed, get my paint mixed up, get it sprayed in my top coat, and then fit it. There'll be a couple little bits left, little bits of snagging left to do at the end, like where the overriders obviously poke through the bottom of the, you know, I'm going to have to make a little cap to go over that. I'll probably take a mould and vacuum form them, as we do vacuum forming here for a living. Then it would make sense to make a buck and then just vacuum form little black cover plates that hide the overrider, and they will then actually be attached to the bonnet, so when the bonnet lifts, the overrider cap comes away with it, so you haven't got to take those caps off before you lift the bonnet, if you know what I mean. Those should just cover over nicely. And I will have at some point have to work out how the lifting struts are going to attach to the bonnet as well, because I'll need to get some kind of eye bolts things in there. And of course we've got to wire all the lights in, do all the electrics for those, make sure they all work. So still a bit more to do, but I think it looks alright. At this point I think it's looking pretty cool. It's the look I was going for, and like I've said before, I don't really measure anything, I just cut things by eye. I haven't got this all planned out on paper where this is going to go. I just do a bit and go, sort of looks alright, we'll now do this, yeah, that looks alright, we'll do the next bit, yeah, that'll do. So that's just how I do things. I know I'm not one of these people who plans it out meticulously and then just follows every step to the letter. I just don't work like that. I like the sort of creative freedom to just be able to go through, drill a hole and go, yeah, it's alright, or no, I don't like it, fill it, start again. It's just how I work. So yes, as always, thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. And if you are interested, stay tuned for the next one, when we'll hopefully get this thing finished on the car, get out, get some nice shots of it, see how it looks, and go from there. And I've got a plan for the rear lights as well, because we're going to change the rear lights, or we're going to make a cover plate for the rear lights with chrome, like a chrome bezel that divides them, almost like the old Mustang lights, you know the ones I mean? Rectangular, three or four cells in them, chrome. I'm going to make a cover plate for the rear lights that goes over them, again vacuum formed in chrome, that just clips over those lights and makes them look a lot more Mustang-like, because, you know, if that's what I'm doing, if I'm going for the sort of American muscle car sort of look, then I may as well do the back as well. And I'll probably spray the black infill panel black as well, just so it matches the front. But anyway, we'll see what happens next time. So thank you very much. See you soon.